Hello, welcome to the second edition of our Food-Wise course for the National Access Referral Scheme in Caerphilly Borough, covering Caerphilly, Whisker and So last week when we looked at Food-Wise, we talked about food itself, the reasons why it's important to have a balanced diet, and also looked at some of the common myths and some facts in relation to food. So moving on from that, what we're going to look at today is what's called the Eat Well Guide. It used to be called the Eat Well Plate, but it's been changed now and referred to it as the Eat Well Guide. So this is the actual Eat Well Guide. It's very common. It's used by all Public Health Wales, Public Health England as a basis for nutrition. I have got a large one of these behind me, but we have these as small A5 leaflets. If you'd like one of these, get in touch and we can send one out to you in the post. Now, the Eat Well Guide has been designed to allow you to have a framework for designing your daily food and nutritional hydration, your intake throughout the day, to give you a model. It's a guide to help you. It's not telling you what you have to do, but it's just telling you what's going to be best for you to do. Now, you'll notice that it's based on a plate, and there's different sections on the plate, and the sections are different sizes. And the reason for this is to encourage you to be able to see that the areas of the larger sizes should be the things that make up most of your nutrition through the day. So this is the Eat Well Guide, and it's the basis for all of the work that we do on the Food-Wise course. So what are the principles that we're talking about today? So the main principle is about having a well-balanced diet. We discussed this last week in episode 1. The reason that we have a well-balanced diet is because there isn't one single source of food that is going to give you all the nutritional content you need. So there isn't one food that has all of your macronutrients, which are your carbohydrates, your proteins, your fats, your dairy. There isn't one food that has all of your vitamins, and there isn't one food that has all of your minerals. So we need to have a balanced diet so that we can ensure that we have the intake of the macronutrients, our carbohydrates and proteins, etc., and our micronutrients, which are all of our vitamins and our minerals. So the more varied our diet, the greater chance we have of hitting all of those things that we need to eat in the day. The reason why we need all those is because our body needs them to function. They all do something different for us in terms of how the body operates. So the principles of the Eat Well Guide. The largest section on here, or one of the largest sections on here, is actually this orange section here. And this is our starchy carbohydrates section. This is our fuel. It's what gives us our energy and that gives us the fuel to do the activities that we need to do on a daily basis. This is the petrol in your car, or the diesel in your car. Helps you go through the day. The green section are our fruit and vegetables. This can be fresh, it can be frozen, but the fruit and vegetables are the biggest source of our vitamins and minerals for our intake to allow us to have a healthy, fully operational, virus-busting immune system. So it's vitally important. And then we have our, down by here, our dairy. We do need dairy in the day. Biggest source of calcium is dairy. And of course, we all know that calcium is strong for our bones and strong for our teeth. It's really important. And the last section here, which is the other large section, is our proteins. So this is all your meats, your fishes, etc. Proteins are vital for growth of muscle, for repair of muscle, for growth of bone, and for the repair of damaged bone or brittle bone. Now, it helps to improve bone density, which obviously is something that as we get older, we start to lose. So protein is vital to have as a source in our diet. But obviously you can see it's a small section. It's not as large as the fruit and vegetables and the starchy carbohydrates. Now there is one other very small section by there. That is our oils. We do need some fat in our diet, but only a small amount of fat. We don't need lots, and it should be unsaturated fat. But there is a place for that. Sitting outside, you'll see, are our high saturated fat and our high sugar content foods, our processed foods, our snacks, crisps, chocolates, cakes, biscuits. They don't have a place nutritionally within our diet because they don't bring anything in terms of nutritional content. It's sugar and saturated fat. That's what these are, okay? But as we discussed in episode 1, a well-balanced diet allows you to have these, but it's all about moderation and balance, making sure you have small amounts of those in comparison to the rest. So, just giving you some tips, an overview. So our food, starchy foods should make up the largest part of our diet. We should increase fruit and vegetable content. We should increase how much fish we have per week. And in fact, we should have one piece of fish every week if we can. And if we can have 2, one of those should be an oily based fish, like a salmon, mackerel, those types of things. Cut down on saturated fat, cut down on sugar, cut down on salt. In line with that, we want to increase our activity levels, increase water, and always start the day with breakfast. Food of champions is what they say. So those are the key points that we want to take away when we're looking at how we design our food for the day. So, food groups. Starchy carbohydrates. So how much should I be having per day? So our bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, and other starchy carbohydrates, we want to have between 6 and 9 portions a day. And the reason it's between 6 and 9 will depend upon how active you are. Because don't forget, starchy carbohydrates, this is the fuel for your body. So if you've got a very active day ahead of you, or if you know tomorrow you have a very active day, you'll put more carbohydrates in to allow you to survive that, to fuel. Think about your car. If you're just traveling locally, you don't need to have a lot of petrol in the car. But if you're driving to London, to Manchester, to Scotland, you're going to put a lot of fuel into the car. This is the same. If you're going to do a lot of activity, more than what you normally would, then you need to have more towards the 9 portions per day. But if you're having a sedentary day, you're perhaps not moving as much, then you'd be wanting to have 6. So what makes up our starchy carbohydrates? Cereals, breakfast cereals, whole wheat, that's what you want to go for. Whole wheat contains all the fibre and all the nutrients of the ingredients. Nothing has been stripped out, so you get everything, the whole of the grain that's included in those. So breakfast cereals are in there. Pasta, everybody's favourite. Again, with pasta, what we want to do is have whole wheat pasta. Again, the nutritional value is far higher than white pasta. So nutritional pasta, when you next do your shopping, Nutritionally, you want whole wheat pasta. Rice. So you can't get whole wheat rice, but you can get brown rice. So brown rice, you get brown basmati rice as well as brown easy cook rice. And again, it offers a far greater nutritional content to the white. So it's going to allow you to feel fuller for longer. So brown rice. And then the last one, bread. Again, whole wheat, whole grain bread. You want to avoid brown bread and white bread. Now, brown bread nutritionally is the same as white bread. The only difference is that it has caramel colouring, which makes it brown. So you're looking for whole wheat and whole grain bread. Try not to be confused with brown bread, which has all the seeds on top. That's not the same. You need it to say whole grain or whole wheat. And that's going to, again, fill you up for longer and give you a higher value nutritionally. Fruit and vegetables. Everybody knows about these. We all know for years we've been told 5 portions a day. But that's a minimum of 5 portions a day. Don't stop there. You can eat more if you want to. So, fruit and vegetables. Strawberries. All of those berries coming into season now through the summer. Perfect for our diet. The one thing you need to watch out for though is quantity, because they're very sweet. They have a lot of natural sugar, so not too much. Bananas, fantastic source of nutrients, magnesium, potassium, which is great for your body. Lots of fibre. If you have problems with getting cramps in your muscles, then bananas can be a good remedy for that. It's not just about the fresh though. Tinned sweet corn, all your tinned vegetables, as long as they're in water, it's a great source and a great alternative to fresh. We can't always get fresh. Sometimes we can't access that. So if we've got some staples in the cupboard, like tinned sweet corn, tinned peas, tinned carrots, you can get tinned mushrooms. They're great for you to be able to access if you run out of fresh. Just as much as tinned is good, frozen is good. Frozen peas, they're not just great for sticking on your bumps and bruises. So having frozen vegetables accessible at home means that you're always going to have some vegetables that you can throw into your food or have on the side of your plate. Potatoes, the staple of the British diet. We love potatoes. We boil them, roast them, mash them, slice them. Whatever you can do with them, we do them with potatoes. We talked about 5 portions a day. So thinking about a potato, 3 small potatoes make 1 portion. So bear that in mind when you're piling up your plate with your vegetables. We want to have fewer potatoes on our plate and more of the other vegetables. And the last one, dried fruits. Dried fruits again are great. They still have the same nutritional content. However, they do have slightly higher levels of sugar, which has occurred naturally as part of the drying out process. So whilst they're great because they have the nutritional content, they have lots of fibre. The warning is to make sure you have small amounts so that you don't have too much sugar in your diet. Protein. So I talked to you about how important protein is. Protein, it really is vital for any growth and repair of bone and soft tissue. So that's muscles, ligaments, tendons, and as well as your bones. So what do we include in proteins? There are beans, baked beans, etc., kidney beans, chickpeas, all those beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat, and there are a few other sources of protein, small sources. Lots of seeds have protein in, but only small amounts. You're looking to achieve 2 portions per day for a balance. So what would be 2 portions per day? A breast of chicken would be 2 portions per day. Not a whole chicken, a breast of chicken. Think about the size of the palm of your hand. So size of chicken, that would be considered 1 portion of protein per day. Things like lentils, your pulses, fantastic source of protein. They're rich in protein and other nutrients. Three tablespoons of pulses would be considered a portion size. So again, think about how much you might put into your food and whether you're having too much or too little. Beef, pork, lamb, all the other meat that we enjoy. Again, thinking about the size of your hand to give you an idea for a portion size. Eggs. Lots of people are afraid of eggs if they have high cholesterol. Years ago, you'd have been told to be considerate of eggs, but we don't tend to follow that advice anymore. So number of eggs in a portion is 2. So 2 eggs is equal to 1 portion of protein per day. And the last one, seafood. Prawns, all those shellfish that you like to enjoy. What you're probably wanting to be having is with your shellfish, with your seafood, and with sliced meat, you'd be looking at between 60 and 90 grams per day. That would make a portion. So it is quite a considerable amount. There's plenty in there certainly to fill you up. Milk and dairy. With milk and dairy, you're actually allowed 3 portions per day. And so whilst you might think, why can I have 3 portions of this, but only 2 portions of protein? A lot of it is about size. So your portion size for dairy is far lower than that of your protein. In our dairy, we're obviously including our milk, cottage cheese, your soft cheese. Lots of people like to have soft spreadable cheese on crackers. Normal cheese, whether it's grated or whether it's as a hard cheese where you cut it yourself. And yogurts. Yogurts, the thing to be aware of is obviously this is a flavoured yogurt. So whilst flavoured yogurts can taste very good, obviously they have high levels of sugar in them. So you need to be just conscious about what the yogurt is, what it contains. Is it a natural yogurt, like a Greek yogurt, or is it a flavoured yogurt, and how is it flavoured? So, the last segment of our Eat Well plate, oils and spreads. So your spreads are things like what we used to call margarine, but it's a low-fat spread now, or a spread for toast and for putting on jacket potatoes, that sort of thing. What we don't include in here is butter. Our spreads and our oils, we don't put butter into this because it's high in saturated fat, a lot higher than some of the others. And with oils and spreads, we don't have a portion allowance per day. What they say is for you to use sparingly, use small amounts. And then to create our balance, so we have our protein, we have our carbohydrates, we have our fruit and vegetables, we have our dairy, and we have our oils and spreads. But all well-balanced diets have a little bit of those things that we like to eat, but in moderation. So, cake, biscuits, crisps. So those are the items which we want in our diet because it makes our diet balanced, but we don't want to have too much. So remember what we said. Starchy foods, lots of fruit and vegetables, increase your fish, have low saturated fat, low sugars, low salt, increase your activity levels, increase your water intake, and never skip breakfast. Always have breakfast. So, that's our Eat Well guide. Now, if only if it was as simple as eating all of this. But the one thing we really have to think about is how much we're eating. And sometimes we can eat too much food. So it may be the right food in the right portions and the right balance, but we're just having too much of it. So some ideas for you on what you can do to help control your portion sizes, control the amount that you eat. It's very hard, but you need to train yourself to remember, your body to remember what it feels like to feel full, so that you know when you're satisfied and you've eaten enough and you don't need to eat anymore. So some tips for you. If we eat slowly, chew your food. That's what your grandparents, your parents would have always said to you. Chew your food and eat slowly. Focus on your food. Try not to eat your food when the television is on, because otherwise you just eat what's there. You're not really paying attention to the food or what you're eating. It's just all going in because you're busy looking at the television, concentrating on the program that you're watching. So if you can turn the television off, or even better, sit in a different room at a table to eat so you can focus on your food, that's better. You want to be satisfied once you've eaten, not stuffed. Really important. Start to really learn how to feel, I've had enough, I don't need to finish everything else. Superstart your day, breakfast. Try not to skip breakfast because it starts the day with hunger. Have a smaller plate. If there's less room, you're less likely to pile more food on. Veg-tastic, as it says. Fill your plate with colour from lots of vegetables. Mix and match. So, if you know that you're going to be having a larger evening meal, plan a smaller lunch and vice versa, so that you don't end up having two large meals in the day and therefore overeating. And then the last one, leftovers. Once you've plated your food, if there's food left over, don't be tempted to just put it on the plate. Leave it to the side and it can go in the refrigerator to be used the next day or the day after, or indeed it can even be frozen for you to have at a later date. So leftovers are good because we can use them lots of different ways in food for the following day, and like I said, they can be frozen as well. Okay, so that's the end of episode 2. So we've talked about the Eat Well guide and the food groups themselves and how many portions we should be having per day of each one. In your book, in your Food Wise for Life manual, on page 16, there's more information in there about what a serving size looks like. So have a look at that. Have a look through the different groups and see just what it is that you're eating on a daily basis. So the next episode we're going to look at achieving balance. So achieving balance between what we eat and what we do, and how that can help drive and achieve weight loss or weight maintenance for those who don't want to lose any weight. Okay, so that's it for today, and I'll see you next time on episode 3.